Philly Farmer Press is a great pressing variation that's built off of a couple of things. First of all, I've got my pressing arm, in which case I've got a 15-pound dumbbell in this circumstance, and I've got a kettlebell. It doesn't have to be a kettlebell, it could be a dumbbell, it could be any anchor type thing that weighs about twice as much. Okay, it doesn't have to be twice as much, but we'll get into that in a second. From there, I'm just holding neutral at the side, and I'm going for some ordinary overhead dumbbell presses. So what I'm truly executing here is this balance between, well, what happens if I don't have this? Well, first of all, I can have my arm a little bit more balanced favorably out to the side. It's going to be easier for me to squeeze because I'm not trying to counter this lopsided type thing, and I can just focus on my ordinary bracing for my dumbbell press. As soon as I introduce this, I'm going to go lopsided. So as I'm lopsided, the natural tendency for me to kind of press away from myself is going to be exacerbated, so I've got to squeeze that down. In squeezing that down, it becomes a little more taxing on the midsection. I've got some grip component, and then on top of all of that, I've got to do my press. Now, at the risk of doing too many things at once, it really is a pretty elegant assembly of all the things that you want to have when you are doing pressing mechanics. I want to have a tight grip. I want to have a packed shoulder. I want my other shoulder to be packed. I don't want to just be kind of loosey-goosey off to the side. I want to have my rib cage stacked on top of my hips as opposed to it bleeding off to the side. So by introducing this counterbalance, and as you get used to the mechanics of the whole thing, it really just becomes a very difficult press, which is fairly easy to manage. As far as like what should your weights and stimulus be, well, because of all of that, you're probably going to be slightly lighter than your normal press. So if I would normally press, let's say 2 40-pound dumbbells, I might take this down to 30, something like that. And as far as what your anchor is in the other hand, well, this would be kind of useless and absurd to do it the other way because this 15 pounds is really going to do nothing compared to this 35. So to some degree, it's kind of, well, what's the heaviest thing you have that still allows you to do this correctly? So if all you had was a pair of 15s, okay, fine, that would be okay. But if you had like a big heavy kettlebell, those 40, 50, 60 pounds, that's going to be a pretty good stimulus for you. From the feet up, I'm rooted, locked out, hips tight, anchored, tight grip, execute my presses, and you're going to find this rep for rep to be a very taxing press. This is super productive to coordinating everything you need to successfully do a press.